Welcome to The Cross Remains. My name is Michael, and today we embark on a journey into the life of one of the most beloved and mysterious saints of the Catholic Church, Saint Padre Pio. Known for his deep prayer, the Stigmata, and countless miracles, Padre Pio's life was a living testimony of suffering united with Christ. In this video, we explore his story, not just to admire a holy life, but to be transformed by it. Subscribe to The Cross Remains and tap the bell icon so you never miss our deep dives into the truth, beauty, and power of our Catholic faith, because his love endures forever. Forgione was born on May 25, 1887, in the humble village of Pietrelcina, Italy. His parents, Grazio and Maria, were peasants with little to offer materially, but they were rich in faith. From an early age, Francesco showed signs of intense devotion. While other children played, he knelt before the family crucifix in silence. His mother often found him whispering prayers to the Blessed Virgin. His father made great sacrifices, even emigrating to America to fund his son's education. Little did they know, their quiet home had given birth to a soul destined for sanctity. From childhood, Francesco experienced supernatural visions. He spoke of seeing Jesus, Mary, and his guardian angel regularly. These were not dreams, they were vivid spiritual encounters. At night, he battled darkness, tormented by demonic apparitions, but every morning, he returned to prayer. His family, though unsure how to respond, believed him. His life was becoming a battlefield between light and darkness, training him for the extraordinary mission ahead. At 15, Francesco entered the Capuchin order, taking the name Pio in honor of Pope Saint Pius V. Life as a friar was austere: cold cells, long hours of prayer, strict fasting. But Brother Pio embraced it with joy. Despite frequent illness, he immersed himself in scripture and contemplation. His brothers noticed something different: his tears during prayer, his silence, his profound humility. In secret, he was already offering his suffering for others. In silence, he began his climb to Calvary. Padre Pio was ordained a priest on August 10, 1910. His first Mass was filled with trembling hands, tears, and deep reverence. His health remained delicate, but his soul burned like fire. When he celebrated Mass, time seemed to stop. Witnesses said he entered into the Passion of Christ, lingering in silence at the consecration, absorbed in divine mystery. His Mass was not performance, it was sacrifice. A living altar stood before them, bearing the wounds of love. It was in September of 1918, during a moment of intense prayer before a crucifix, that Padre Pio received the visible stigmata, the wounds of Christ in his hands, feet, and side. Blood flowed from these sacred wounds, yet he bore them in silence and humility. For days he tried to hide them with gloves and bandages, but word spread quickly, and pilgrims began arriving to witness the miraculous sign. Doctors examined him, skeptics scoffed, yet Padre Pio remained focused, not on the wounds, but on their meaning, a share in the suffering of Jesus, offered for the salvation of souls. News of the stigmata spread across Italy and beyond. San Giovanni Rotondo, the small town where Padre Pio lived, became a place of pilgrimage. The faithful came in droves, some seeking healing, others conversion. Many waited for hours to attend his Mass or speak with him. Crutches were left behind, tears were shed, souls were changed. But Padre Pio never saw himself as a miracle worker. "I am only a poor friar who prays," he said. And yet, through that prayer, God moved mountains. One of Padre Pio's most extraordinary gifts was his ability to read souls. In the confessional, he could see deep into a person's conscience. Sins not spoken aloud were gently revealed. The most hardened hearts broke under his gaze, not out of fear, but out of divine love. Confession with Padre Pio was not a routine. It was a mystical encounter with mercy. Many left weeping, not from shame, but from the overwhelming realization that God had never stopped waiting for them. But holiness comes at a cost. Padre Pio spoke often of physical and spiritual attacks from the devil. At night, He was assaulted, thrown from his bed, beaten, tormented by dark figures. Screams were heard from his cell, yet he never feared. Holding his rosary, he whispered prayers to Mary, his refuge and protector. He called the devil the wretch and said, annoyed, "The more the devil attacks me, the more I cling to Jesus." His battles remind us that spiritual warfare is real, but so is victory through Christ. Despite his growing fame, Padre Pio faced immense scrutiny from the Church. Out of caution, the Vatican restricted his ministry. He was forbidden from celebrating Mass publicly or writing to his spiritual children. Many questioned him. Some accused him of deceit. But Padre Pio remained silent. He obeyed without complaint. "God sees," he would say. His obedience was not weakness, it was strength. Like Christ before Pilate, he accepted humiliation as part of the cross. And in that silence, his sanctity spoke louder than words ever could. Amidst criticism and spiritual warfare, Padre Pio continued to serve through acts of charity. One of his greatest achievements was the founding of the Casa Sollievo della Sofferenza, the house for the relief of suffering. More than a hospital, it was a sanctuary of hope and healing. Built with prayer and divine providence, it combined cutting-edge medicine with spiritual care. Padre Pio saw every patient as Christ in disguise. He often said, thoughtful, "The patient is Jesus." Even in his frailty, he guided doctors and nurses with compassion and unwavering faith. Though his body was frail, Padre Pio's soul burned with love. He spent long hours in the confessional, even while bleeding from the stigmata. His hands, wrapped in cloth to absorb the blood, trembled. But he never refused a soul in need. Some say a sweet fragrance followed him. Roses, violets, signs of grace. Others claim to feel peace just by entering the church where he prayed. Even in silence, he radiated the presence of God. His wounds became windows through which the light of Christ poured into the world. Padre Pio's love for the Blessed Virgin Mary was immeasurable. He called the Rosary his weapon, praying it constantly. Even during hospital visits or in the confessional, his fingers moved silently along the beads. He urged everyone to entrust themselves to Mary's care. Earnest, "Love Our Lady," he said, emphatic, "and make her loved. Always recite the Rosary." In her, he found strength, purity, and the perfect way to Jesus. His life was a living litany of Marian devotion. As the end of his earthly life drew near, Padre Pio spoke often of eternity. He reminded people, calm, pray, hope, and don't worry. Worry is useless. God is merciful and will hear your prayer. His body grew weaker, but his soul grew more luminous. Visitors noticed his serenity. His gaze seemed to pierce into eternity. He no longer belonged to the world. His life was an offering, poured out slowly, day by day, in hidden union with the suffering Christ. On September 23, 1968, after more than 50 years bearing the stigmata, Padre Pio peacefully returned to the Father. His final words were, "Whisper, Jesus, Mary." Thousands gathered to mourn. But there was no despair, only awe. His death was not the end, but a passage. Even now, pilgrims flock to his tomb. They come seeking not a memory, but a presence. Padre Pio lives, not in body, but in spirit, in every soul that prays, suffers, and loves with the heart of Christ. In 2002, Pope John Paul II canonized Padre Pio, declaring him Saint Pio of Pietrelcina, but for many, he had always been a saint. His image now graces churches, homes, and hearts across the globe. Yet it's not fame that draws the faithful. It's his example, a life of sacrifice, a heart of mercy, a soul that burned for God. He does not invite us to admire him from afar, but to walk the path he walked, prayer, suffering, and total trust in divine love. Saint Padre Pio remains a beacon of mystical spirituality in the modern world. In his wounds, we see Christ crucified. In his eyes, the gaze of mercy. In his silence, the weight of eternity. He reminds us that miracles are real, that suffering can sanctify, and that holiness is not an idea. It is a life poured out in love. He did not speak loudly, but his life thundered across the ages. How do we respond to a saint like Padre Pio? Not with mere admiration, but with imitation. Go to confession, embrace the Rosary, offer your wounds with love, trust in God, forgive, endure, love. As he once said, in the spiritual life, one must always move forward. If we do not, we go backward. Let us press on, with courage, knowing that Padre Pio walks with us still, praying for us, interceding, guiding us toward heaven. In a world filled with noise, chaos, and confusion, Padre Pio stands as a voice of stillness. He lived the gospel, not in crowds or cameras, but in confessionals, pain, and prayer. He reminds us that the way of the cross is not easy, but it is the only way to resurrection. His voice is silent now, his wounds are healed, but his legacy burns like a candle in the night, inviting us all to follow. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the life of Saint Padre Pio. May his intercession strengthen your faith, deepen your prayer, and draw you ever closer to the Sacred Heart of Jesus. If this video touched your soul, please like, share, and subscribe to The Cross Remains. And remember to ring the bell so you never miss a chance to encounter God through the lives of the saints, because his love endures forever.